Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
A lot of people are asking about our coaching staff, and I say the same thing. If there's a chance or an opportunity to add one or two guys down the road here, we'll do that. But right now, there's no announcements on that area. When there's time for an announcement of that, we'll do it. Certainly, I think maybe an addition will help us, but we'll wait and see how that works out.
Thank you, Steve Spurrier, for messing up the Gamecock basketball game last night. It's your fault that your Gamecocks lost to your Gators.
They had a 3-point lead before Spurrier talked. They let it get away.
I like to go back and look at the record of USC basketball on those games in which Spurrier holds his postseason presser in the walk area outside the media room at halftime of the basketball game. I think it distracts everybody.
I don't think it does. Plus it would
Sindarius Thorne was in there trying to locker room and hear what he said.
Plus, it'd be bad to do it because they've had some bad basketball teams recently. But no, it's a case where you got a team full of sophomores, and you knew after Iowa State, the dangerous thing happens is after a big game they decompress, and you walk right into conference play against a team that desperately needed a win, and Billy Donovan was not going to start conference play after 2 straight losses with another loss, and they just out of muscle South Carolina.
Well, Mark, after the game, very interesting, in which he said he sensed a poor performance a couple of days ago in practice. He didn't like the way the guys were approaching the game, didn't like their focus, didn't like their demeanor in practice, and it showed up in the game last night. The Gamecocks had a critical stage in that game where it was tied. Then they drew a foul, a flagrant foul, 2 free throws. Then Florida hits a 3. A tied game becomes a 5-point deficit, and they couldn't make a shot. They missed a lot of chippies around the basket, didn't shoot it well in any particular area, and it doesn't matter. When Thornwell and Notice gets between them in a game, the Gamecocks aren't going to win.
No, and defensively, they had some lapses that were no good. I mean, after the 13-2 run, Florida got an 8-point working margin. The Gamecocks were scoring some baskets, but they just couldn't get stops on the other side, and Florida was getting chippies, and if they missed, they were getting rebounds. I haven't seen the Gamecocks get out-rebounded like that in a long time, all season.
Second half, they got crushed on the boards.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bill Russell said years ago that watch a team if the wrong players are scoring, because that means they're out of sync. I knew South Carolina was going to have problems when Demetrius Henry did not have a foul in the first half, which means what? He wasn't as aggressive and maybe not hitting the boards like he should. So, hey, by all means, if you need to get fouls to get aggressive, be aggressive.
Meantime, Clemson turned up the defense at Louisville, almost stunned everybody, but Louisville held on. But it was the kind of game that I think Brad Brownell can build on now. He got his defense going again last night, and you hold those guys down at home the way they did, he can build on that going to Pittsburgh and then moving forward. Got a lot to talk about. We'll hear from Steve Spurrier, Frank Martin, and Brad Brownell, and your phone calls. Sports Talk on a Thursday night. And our phone number on Sports Talk, 800-956-7266. Our email, talkback@sportstalksc.com. On Twitter, @SportsTalkSC. The website is sportstalksc.com. And on Facebook, Sports Talk Radio Network. Drop in. Love to take your phone calls, your thoughts on the basketball games last night. Thoughts on what Steve Spurrier had to say last night as well. Recruiting comments and questions, of course, welcomed throughout the month of January, really welcomed anytime, but in particular here in the month of January. We begin tonight with news of the crowning of the new Sportscaster of the Year in South Carolina. He is our own Kevin McCrary. Congratulations, my friend. Well-deserved. Big honor from the National Sports Writers and Sportscasters Association. Your thoughts?
Wow, it is a very big honor. I'm surprised, really. I mean, they called me on Monday and told me about it. I felt kind of bad when I got off the phone. I just was speechless pretty much. So that's a really cool thing to look at the names of people that won it and then see Bob Fulton and Jim Phillips, Bill Kornbluth.
Yeah,
I think he won like half a dozen times. Mike Morgan, guys that I grew up listening to, and now I'm on that list. So
You're so young, K-Mac. You're
very humbled
such
and
a child.
Appreciate everybody that voted for me for that.
Well, it's
Very
hard
cool.
not to vote for somebody that gives up a piece of their body during the year. Let's see how many votes you get this year.
Unbelievable.
Maybe that was because I was a finalist last year, but maybe that was the
the donation
put
put
me
you
on
over
The vote was taken while you still had the kid.
No, we are very honored and very happy for you.
Congratulations.
It's fantastic. Lou Bezjak of the Florence Morning News is the South Carolina Sports Writer of the Year. K-Mac and Lou will be honored in June at a gathering of the Sportscasters and Sports Writers Association in Salisbury, North Carolina. Believe it or not, that is the home of the NSSA. It's been there for a long, long time, and they will bring in folks from all over the country. They'll have the national award winners. Do you have those in front of you?
The national award winners, I do not. Well, I think the Hall of Famers, Bill Raftery and Dick Schaap. Is going in the Hall of Fame. No, he will not be there. Let's see. Leslie,
man, what are you shaking your head
Jeremy may be there in his stead.
Leslie Visser is also going in to the Hall
and
of
her
Fame.
new face.
And boy, you're just terrible. Hal McCoy is going. Doc Emmerich is the national broadcaster of the
hockey
year.
Guy, right? Isn't he primarily a hockey guy?
Yeah, I think so.
Rangers.
He's the voice of the National Hockey League on NBC, the NBC Sports Network, and Tom Verducci,
writer,
Sports Illustrated writer, is the writer of the year. It is a cool thing. I go look.
I know, Vince Scully.
I'm on a list with Vince Scully. So, again, it's just.
You'll have
really
a great
cool
time.
thing.
You'll have a great time. Congratulations. We're very proud of you.
Thank you.
And carry forward the Sports Talk name proudly to Salisbury. Phone number is 800-956-7266 if you'd like to join us. Former Clemson defensive end Ricky Sapp in the NFL again. He has signed with the Redskins. We're also told today that Jelon Oglesby, one-time Clemson signee, the former Daniel star, things are in the works now for him to go to SMU, where Chad Morris is the head coach. What did you see out of SMU today that caught our eye? Something he's doing?
Chad Morris is keeping a trophy case open in the main football lobby for a national championship trophy. It's going to be an empty space in the trophy case for a national championship trophy.
Will they have countdown clocks?
I don't know. I didn't see if they're going to put a countdown clock in there, but they are going to have
they
a
got
trophy case.
One thing, has anybody asked, anybody asked Dabo what they've done with those countdown clocks?
They're still up. They're still in there. They took the 0-5 off, but they're still there.
Counting down to?
I think they started it, just reset it, going back to the game again.
Went back to the game?
That's it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody out there knows, but I know I saw a picture that somebody took after the week after, and the 0-5 was definitely gone. But it
no sense getting rid of a good countdown clock.
Good piece of electronics there.
They got them all over the place.
But are we going into this thing in June 30th where all the atomic clocks will be thrown off or something because the Earth is
You're asking me?
No, but I think it's an extra second in this year. I think they had to add an extra section.
The leap second?
I guess so.
So
what does that do to the countdown clock?
Going to throw it off. Former Gaffney and Tennessee Vols defensive lineman Jalen Miller has enrolled at Limestone College. He'll play football for the Saints. That was coming out of the Spartanburg Herald Journal today. And what else? That is pretty much it. Basketball tonight. We've got a lot of Big South and Southern Conference games. Charleston Southern will be at High Point in the Big South. Winthrop at Presbyterian. Longwood at Coastal Carolina. And the SoCon at Samford at Citadel. Greensboro at Furman. VMI plays at Wofford. And the lone SEC-ACC game tonight is LSU at Missouri. Now, last night, of course, a lot of action around the two leagues. And South Carolina losing at home to the Florida Gators. And you can really sum it up with the fact that the Gamecocks hit a stretch in the second half. Well, didn't shoot the ball well the entire second half. Didn't rebound well either in the second half. But there was that stretch where it was a tied game. And then Jacavicius got rung up with the flagrant foul. And Florida hits 2 free throws. Then they hit a 3-pointer. So it became a 5-point trip down the floor for the Gators. And Gamecocks were never able to catch up from there. They had the lead of 6 points or so in the second half up until things started getting away from them at that point. And they just could not get points from their scorers. Thornwell and Notice in particular. Notice their leading scorer had 1 basket on the night. And I will say this about him as we were doing our work afterwards inside the press room and then outside on press row. He was out there by himself shooting jump shots. I don't know. He was still there when I left, which was about 2 hours after the game. He had the rebounding machine, the toss-back machine with him, and he was working on his shot. And I'll say this, he was missing more than he was making in that setting as well. Wasn't a good shooting night for him.
Well, the interesting thing about it is
when I was watching, he might have gotten hot later on.
Yeah, he was knocking some down when I watched.
I saw him miss a lot.
In basketball, you got to learn lessons. Kansas is playing pretty well now. After they got the doors blown off by Kentucky, I think it was. So in basketball, it's a little bit different because you have more games and the games come at you so quickly. A team like South Carolina and any team has to learn from a loss very quickly and not let it happen again. Now, the interesting thing is now Ole Miss sort of faces the same thing South Carolina did this week without, say, the win, because they played so great at Kentucky. Their fans are going to expect them to show well at home. Now, if South Carolina comes in there as a wounded bear, so to speak, and plays Ole Miss, they could steal and win. This is an opportunity where a game where you're not expected to win. Now it's time to get that loss to Florida back, and you got to steal one in Oxford.
Well, that's what you have to do. You have to look for any losses you have at home. And Ole Miss impressed me the other night.
Yes.
And that'll be a tough game for South Carolina to go into and win. It's just the whole travel deal and going into a place where I don't think they've won a whole lot in the past. So that's they're two pretty evenly matched teams, I would imagine. If they could pull off that win on the road Saturday, then that would certainly be a nice bounce back for them. As for Clemson, boy, really impressed with the effort K-Mac the Tigers put out last night. They had a 4-point lead at halftime, held Louisville to 18 points, kept it close into the second half, even into the last 90 seconds or so, still had a chance to pull off the upset.
They had to come back in the second half. Louisville went on a 14-0 run and got up 10, but the Tigers got it back to a couple of 3-4 points and just didn't have enough. And that's a top 5 team on the road. Here's what's tough for Clemson, though.
Yeah.
They got back about 1 a.m. Class started yesterday. They didn't get the first day of class in because they were on the road, so they had to go to class today. They'll get a quick practice in today, a quick walkthrough in the morning, and then off to Pittsburgh. A noon tip on Saturday against Pittsburgh. John Swofford did not do them any favors.
That's why they have to have a bench, because they expended so much energy on defense last night in the first half. If their bench doesn't save them, their players don't have anything for the second half.
back, 800-956-7266. Want to check out our voting on our poll question of the week. Who is the state player of the year? The nominees: Deshaun Watson, Vic Beasley, Dylan Thompson, Pharaoh Cooper, Alex Ross, Quinn Backus. And, boy, it's been back and forth, over 1,500 votes now. Back and forth between Cooper and Beasley. Cooper now with 661 votes. Beasley was 606 votes, and Watson with 206 last night. Beasley had moved to the top, but this afternoon, Cooper back on top with 44%. If you haven't voted, there's still time. We'll leave this up probably through the weekend, and then we'll declare the state player of the year.
Some people really believe like the person that wins this is going to get a piece of hardware. You know, Pharaoh Cooper's been telling everybody, he's been whipping up votes.
What we're going to do is we're going to take the corn cup from Governor Hodges, which he won for a 15th consecutive year.
It's incredible.
Make a copy of that. So there'll be 2 corn cups out there that will.
And he said he wouldn't trade one of those corn cups for the second term.
That's
in
right.
The governor's mansion.
That's why he didn't.
It means more to him. he does not.
By the way, K-Mac, you and your playoff zealots,
Oh, here it comes.
Well, I just did a little research today.
This is
just to kind of reel you in a little bit, because you were all excited about the TV ratings. You were all excited.
I'm excited about the playoff.
Did you know? This is fact, not debatable. This is fact. I looked it up. You can look it up too as well. The highest rated semifinal game of this past week in the playoffs, the highest rated playoff game between the two, 15.4 national rating, would finish no better than 10th of the top rated BCS bowl games. In other words, there are 9 BCS bowl games of the BCS era that had higher TV ratings than the highest rated semifinal
but
game.
The BCS games are on network TV.
Not my problem.
Well, I mean, there's
almost
available to more houses.
ESPN.
No, they don't. It's not even close.
ESPN's in 90% of American.
Now you're just pulling that number right out of your behind.
I'm going to look it up.
It's
not my problem. Colleges decided to put everything on ESPN.
Here's another fact. But here's another fact on cable television. Another fact for you, not disputable. The highest rated program ever on cable TV, and that doesn't limit it just to sports. That counts TV shows, your Sons of Anarchy, whatever you want to put on. Watch.
I get that. All I'm saying, ESPN estimated number of homes, 85.6%, over 97 million homes. That's a pretty big number. Plus, you see ESPN everywhere, so it's not like you can't get ESPN. You want to watch something on ESPN, you can find it. I'm just pointing out, you're all caught up in this hoopla of the playoffs. The BCS TV ratings, 9 BCS games.
Okay, but we haven't played the championship game. So you would,
this does not include.
I guarantee most NFC and AFC championships don't rate as high as the Super Bowl, correct?
This includes non-championship games. This includes BCS bowl games in the top 9.
I'm with K-Mac.
Not just championship games.
What BCS bowl games? It was the highest rated Rose Bowl ever. It was the highest rated Sugar Bowl ever.
Not ever, because these are rated higher on cable, but not ever.
But they're all
First of all, there's no real big news, or somebody was expecting. First of all, there's no real big news, or somebody was expecting some big news. I just hadn't had a chance to. First of all, there's no real big news. First of all, there's no real big news, or somebody was expecting some big news. I just hadn't had a chance to talk. Thanks for coming out.
We are back at Sports Talk here on a Thursday night from downtown Columbia Main Streets. Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. Glad you're with us tonight. 800-956-7266 is the number if you'd like to join us. Coming up in a moment, Steve Spurrier. Now, one thing he said last night, K-Mac, was that he expects some folks to transfer, and you just run across a note that the Gamecocks are losing another player to transfer.
Dion Kane, defensive lineman, according to Green. Kane, Green, according to 247 Sports, is leaving the Gamecock program. He was hurt his first 2 years. I don't think he played a snap, and he played in 11 games last year, but never really got any traction. Did not play against Clemson, did not play against Miami in the final two games. So he is going to look for another school.
That's too bad. That's the case where it just didn't work out. I remember him in recruiting. I think he's got family from here in the Columbia area. That was part of the reason that he picked South Carolina. That family lived down the street from Williams-Brice, not too far. It's very comfortable for him. But I think the injuries and just didn't obviously develop. When a player transfers out, you have to look at why. Why did this player not make it? Did you miscalculate him? And so, yeah, thank you. Did you misevaluate him?
And miscalculated that.
Miscalculate his talent, misevaluate him. Were there injuries involved? Did he just not progress for whatever reason to become a contributing player? And so this is something that you hate to see happen because you put a lot of time and effort into getting a guy into school and then trying to develop him, but it just doesn't work out in every case. So another player drops off the board at South Carolina. Now, Spurrier last night during halftime of the basketball game, you were there, and he had a little gathering with the media in the hallway outside the media room at Colonial Life Arena.
Yeah, there's a big crowd of people wanting to know if the head ball coach was going to drop any major news.
First of all, there's no real big news, or somebody was expecting some big news. I just hadn't had a chance to talk to you guys in a while since the bowl game, but really proud of our team. Proud of our team winning 3 of the last 4, winning the bowl game, and I got my Independence Bowl stuff on, as you can see, shirt, jacket. So it's always neat to win a bowl game, as we all know. But looking forward spring ball, looking forward to finishing up recruiting in a month. And again, a lot of people are asking about our coaching staff, and I say the same thing. If there's a chance or an opportunity to add 1 or 2 guys down the road here, we'll do that. But right now, there's no announcements on that area. But anyway, Dylan Thompson had a heck of a game against Miami. I think he easily could have been the most valuable player, although Pharaoh certainly had a bunch of big plays also. But just looking forward to the offseason, looking forward to finishing up recruiting. I think every now and then some of our recruits mess around with the media. We've learned. Hopefully that's all they're doing is messing around, saying one thing and hopefully meaning another. But we'll see. You recruit till February the 4th, and on February the 4th we'll find out what we got. But we feel like we're going to have an excellent recruiting class and plan on that happening.
So you're not worried about this class?
No, we're not worried at all. We already got 8 or 9, I think 9 guys here already. Obviously, Quay Lewis and Dexter Wyman are 2 big-name guys, and Sherrod Pittman, linebacker. They're already here on campus. In fact, several of them are at the game here tonight. Now, we're in good shape. We're in good shape, and I think our defense is certainly going to look a lot different next year, and hopefully our offense will continue on. Of course, Dylan threw for more yards than any quarterback in school history. So he deserves, I think, a little bit more accolades maybe than he's been able to receive this year.
Have you had a chance, or did you get a chance to see Connor play to the start?
Yeah, I saw most of that game, a little bit of that game. He did okay. He did well. I think he can play better. I think he'll tell you he can play a lot better than that. But for his first time out, he did pretty well.
You've been looking for opportunities to upgrade your staff?
When there's time for an announcement of that, we'll do it. We'll do it. So certainly I think maybe an addition will help us, but we'll wait and see how that works out.
Has this recruiting season been more of a challenge for you?
No, it's been a good recruiting season. And again, on February the 4th, we'll find out what all we got. But we got a bunch of fired up coaches. We're looking forward to doing some different things. I was telling our coaches at this time last year, we were number 4 in the nation. And maybe some of us got a little cocky that is just going to keep happening. We're just going to keep winning 11 games and didn't happen. And obviously our team wasn't as strong. Obviously our defense wasn't as strong as it's been in the past. And we didn't. But all we can do is try to learn from it and try to do some things differently around here. So we'll do that.
Hey, Coach, well, what's your reaction to the NCAA agreeing to pay the travel expenses for the families of the players that transfer?
Well, about time. I guess that's my reaction, about time. But I commend and applaud Ohio State. They're the ones who got it started. I think they gave all their players $800 the first playoff game for their families to travel, and they didn't ask the NCAA. They said, we're doing it. Hardship fund or whatever they call it. And so the NCAA said, hey, that's a good idea. Let's give them a little bit more. What, $1,250 I think it is now for both teams. They should always be doing this. And they should do it for basketball too.
What do you think about Schottenheimer joining Georgia's staff?
Well, Shotty played for me down there in Florida. He's been an NFL coach. I don't know why he went to college, but maybe he wanted to go back to college, or maybe it's just a good opportunity for him. But that is an excellent opportunity for any coach. Georgia always have a whole bunch of good players. They've probably been the most consistent team in the East. Well, maybe they haven't been. Heck, we've beat them 4 out of 5 years, haven't we? So anyway, but overall, they've probably been one of the best teams on the Eastern side, certainly.
Have you followed Schottenheimer's career much? Is he a guy you think he coaches?
A little bit. No, it's a different game. That pro football is a different game than what we used to do. But I'm not sure. He was with the Rams this year. They had a great defense, and sometimes when you coach with a tremendous defense, your offense just don't mess up. Don't turn it over. So, but yeah, he's a good, solid, proven coach.
Connor Shaw's game with the Browns and all. What do you think of him?
Yeah, we already talked about that. Yeah, you're a little late on that. Yeah.
Any transfers, any changes?
Well, we anticipate some players maybe with a year of eligibility to graduate and go maybe to a smaller school and play some. Yeah, we'll have some announcement on those guys in a couple of weeks. And we recommend they do that. We got some guys going into their 5th year that we don't think are going to play much here. So, go somewhere where you can play. And so that's a good rule they have now, and hopefully some of our players take advantage of that.
Do you anticipate maybe picking up any transfers?
Oh, I don't know. We have no plans right now. Okay. All right. Thanks. Thanks for coming out.
All right, Steve Spurrier from his meeting with the media last night during halftime of the basketball game. Sounds pretty chipper. It's come a long way since the post game of that Tennessee.
He looked better. I mean, I was standing there and just looking at him. He had the color back. He just looked a little refreshed. Maybe he's had a chance to decompress a little bit. He was looking pretty downtrodden. Yeah, from about the Tennessee game on. It was kind of he got a little pick me up against Florida and a little pick me up against South Alabama, I guess, but he was pretty much downtrodden a good chunk of that season.
Yeah. So you heard what he had to say, and we mentioned the report that Deion Green is leaving the South Carolina program, and there could be others. One thing he did say, it might have come after this, but I saw it. I think Josh Kendall wrote this, that Nosovich will be with the football team at least through spring.
Yeah, that was kind of the throwaway on the way. Yeah, he did mention that. That he's going to stay through at least the spring. That's usually the case.
As a tight end or as a quarterback?
I think as a tight end, as it stands now. That's where they moved him last year.
Quarterback.
Yeah, that's the big question for South Carolina going into the spring. Who can play quarterback?
And can they get better on defense?
Well, I'm willing to bet you they're going to get better on defense.
Well, they only have one direction to go.
Yeah. I'm not sure they've got anybody who can play quarterback at a high level on campus right now. All right, time to do the recruiting report here on Sports Talk, and then we'll get to your calls, 800-956-7266, the number. Defensive end Quandeski Whitlow of Opelika, Alabama, has seen Florida come hard after him in recent weeks, but his coach said today Whitlow's commitment to USC remains solid. Coach Brian Blackman said that Whitlow is telling him he's firmly committed to South Carolina, and he, the coach, is yet to hear from the coaches at Florida. He said that Whitlow is a kid that's never been out of Opelika, so he may take visits to other places. And he said, I don't know if he'll end up doing that or not, but he said what I'm hearing from him is he's still firmly committed to South Carolina. Blackman said he talked with Gamecock recruiter Kurt Botkin this morning and assured him further of Whitlow's commitment to the Gamecocks based on what Whitlow told him Wednesday. And, of course, the coach said that when stuff gets out on Twitter and social media, it makes everybody a little bit nervous. Whitlow is scheduled to visit Louisville next weekend, USC on the 23rd, and Florida on the 30th. He had 50 tackles, 17.5 for loss, 5.5 sacks, and 27 quarterback hurries. His coach said he's a great pass rusher. USC continues to keep up the interest in defensive back Richard Causey of Fort Lauderdale, despite a long-standing commitment to Florida Atlantic. Causey said that Gamecock secondary coach Grady Brown was on hand for his state championship game in December, and that Brown's been recruiting him since he was a sophomore, and they've built a good relationship, and he's also built relationships with other coaches and players at USC. His best friend is Sky Moore, so he hears a lot about the Gamecocks. Causey said he's aware the Gamecocks lost 2 defensive back commitments, and now he said it's up to him to push the issue with the Gamecocks. He said nothing has changed for him for South Carolina. He said he's always loved them from the beginning because they were one of the first big schools recruiting him. He said that it's on his call to make the visit because they want me. He said that it's my call on when school. He hopes to set an official visit with USC after talking with his parents. He said he's also considering Tennessee and Georgia. Meantime, a report on an East Carolina site said that USC is having some conversations with junior college cornerback Treston DeCude. He is out of the Northwest Mississippi Junior College. He was a junior college All-American this year. He just got offered by East Carolina the other day. He's a native of Louisiana. And in the story, he said that he's starting to talk with South Carolina and that they're one of the schools he's looking at, along with Utah State, Fresno State, Louisiana Lafayette, East Carolina, and then in South Carolina as well. He was once committed to Utah State, but decommitted from there. He's 6'3", 205, so excellent size as a cornerback, and he is a sophomore coming out of junior college. 2016 defensive back James Valdez of Lake Marion is going to commit on June the 7th. And I'd say right now South Carolina is probably the team to beat for him. South Carolina has offered defensive back Jowan Williams. He's out of Nashville. He's a 2016 guy. And also the Gamecocks have offered an athlete, 2017 class, Jamyest Williams. I think that's how you would pronounce that. Jamyest. Jamyest. Jammiest? Could be Jammiest. I would say Jammiest. Maybe Jamist? Could it be Jamist? Mm-hmm. Maybe it is. And he is out of Georgia. And as we mentioned in the first part of the show, told today that former Clemson signee athlete Jalon Oglesby of Daniel could be headed to SMU, that things are sort of moving in that direction with him right now to end up with Chad Morris at SMU, where, as K-Mac said, they're leaving a spot open in their trophy case for a future football national championship trophy.
That's right. As far as probation is concerned, they had a bunch of national trophies if they give a trophy for that.
That's it on recruiting. Don't forget to check recruiting out on our website all the time, available for you, sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter, hashtag #STRecruiting will take you right to our recruiting stories. When we come back from the break, we'll take your phone calls, 800-956-7266. K-Mac on Twitter, besides people wishing you congratulations on the award, What else are people saying on our timeline?
Oh, what else are people saying on our Twitter timeline? Well, a lot of people are getting the Oglesby story. Clemson fans and SMU fans. We have a pretty big SMU following now on Twitter.
Realize that.
Well, a big South Carolina connection with
Correct.
the SMU Mustangs these days. So you kind of like need to scroll through the line. You threw a curveball at me.
You have to be on your toes, Mr. Sportscaster.
There's
a
lot of stuff.
Don't start living on your accolades. You know. You
resting on the old laurels.
Be right back. Happy birthday, Elvis. Happy birthday, Don Shula. 80 and 85 years young, except Elvis is dead.
Elvis has left the building.
Don Shula is 85. That scares me because I was a big Baltimore Colts fan when Don Shula took over the Colts. I think he was the youngest coach in the NFL at the time at 33 years old. 34.
To the phones we go. Billy in Florence. Welcome into Sports Talk tonight. How are you doing?
I'm cold, Phil. I'm cold.
Yeah.
Trying to get in a comfortable house with the kids and the wife to get warm. But anyway, Phil, I'm just going to make a couple comments. First thing, I was going to see if you heard Christian Wilkins, and where they do the final rankings and so forth. And they kind of finalize it going into the season, and they'll bump them up to 5 stars or 4 stars or drop them or whatever it's worth. It's fun talking about. I've heard Deion Kane, the receiver for Clemson's, already a 5-star on 24/7. Correct me if I'm wrong, and could be pushed up to 1 by his performances at either the Army All-American under Under Armour in Florida. And Christian Wilkins with his performance also. Coming up, and just tailing off of that, I think people's perception of the defense, we know the offense for Clemson going into this year is going to be great. I mean, there's no reason you shouldn't think that, but I still think Venables can maintain, and I don't see if you agree, about a 15 to 20. I mean, they buy into him, and he's staying. He signed an extension, and he has always had a competitive defense, and he simplifies things. It seems like they improve from year to year. And even with, I think the biggest loss will be Grady Jarrett. But I think DJ Reader, Christian Wilkins, and Albert Huggins will see as youngsters immediate playing time. And I just think the defense is going to surprise a lot of people with Boulware back there. And, of course, Mackenzie Alexander, he's going to do some special things. He's a lockdown corner and Curse back there. I just think it's still going to be good, and I think the offense will kind of minus out, if they do give up some plays. And I'm going to hang up and see what you guys think about that, man.
Well, thank you. First of all, I'm the wrong guy to talk to about ratings of high school players. I don't believe in them. I don't pay attention to them. I don't acknowledge them. So that's that. As far as the players that Clemson's losing, I mean, good gracious. You're losing 8 frontline defensive players, and you can talk all you want about these high school guys coming in with their quote-unquote star ratings. That's all well and good, but you don't want to have to plug a bunch of freshmen into your defense. And if you do, you're fooling yourself if you think you're going to be just as good. I don't care if it's Brent Venables or Vince Lombardi coaching that defense. There's bound to be a drop-off when you lose the kind of players that they're losing. Now, it certainly helps that Shaq Lawson will come back to anchor the defensive front. But I think you better prepare yourself for a little bit more vulnerable defense this year than what you saw this past season, but a better overall offense.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
All right, we are back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Good to have you with us. Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, Sportscaster of the Year, and the professor, smartest man in the room, Tom Hayes, and the steak man, skinniest guy in the room, Graham Pope, and the corn, handsomest guy in the room, 800-956. Everybody has a label tonight. 800-956, and it's all true.
Well, my label tonight is cold.
800-956-7266, the number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. Did you get a better feel on our timeline?
Well, somebody wants to know how many times you're going to tweet out the question about.
I get tired of people asking me that when I
tweet the
retweet
same thing.
What's wrong with that?
15, 20
but
times.
I want more people to have an opportunity.
And you do
to
it multiple
participate.
times a day.
Mm-hmm. No, I do it really just twice a day.
Yeah, twice a day.
Once in the
I responded to the guy that we're going to do it 75,000 more times.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get it out there so more people can participate. Give me something really good.
Something really good
on Twitter. I mean, is anybody talking about anything of that's
some
meat to it? Yeah.
Some meat. You want something meaty?
Something that's got something to discuss. Something we can kick around.
Something we can kick around?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me see if I can find something that
we
can.
It's not meaty yet, but trailing early 6-3.
Oh, we should have
mentioned that,
yeah, that's right. They're playing at Alabama tonight.
Go ahead and slap yourself.
Yeah, at Alabama.
I didn't say Lady Gamecocks.
You just did.
No, I
slap
just said
yourself.
I didn't say
Hit
Lady
yourself.
Gamecocks.
I said
Hit yourself.
women.
You said Gamecock women. I didn't say a word. I didn't refer to them as Lady Gamecocks. I've moved on past that now.
No, it's really pretty quiet.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to say it's pretty quiet. There's some people last night that obviously were disappointed with the Gamecock basketball team's performance. You know, the build up for that game was getting there. I wasn't surprised. I really, Billy Donovan was trying to make a point to his team last night. It was very clear. He suspends Horford, two of their guys. He suspends him, doesn't even bring them on the trip. Frazier, their best scorer, he doesn't start him. They start two sophomores, two freshmen, and a junior last night. He was trying to send a message. Meanwhile, the Gamecocks coming off their biggest win in the Frank Martin era, 7 straight. They didn't practice real well. They were ripe, and Florida was hungry. But the fact that they still made it a game, despite playing pretty poorly for the better part of the last 11 minutes of the game, you're not looking for silver linings if you're Frank Martin, but they're better than how they played last night, and they still had a puncher's chance there late against Florida. They made Florida earn it. They're going to win some games. I think that's a team that's going to win 8 or 9 games in the conference. A big one coming up at Ole Miss. I don't know if Ole Miss is a team that lost to Charleston at their place at the pad,
Charleston Southern.
Charleston Southern, the team that almost beat Kentucky.
Yeah, and as far as Clemson last night, Landry Noko, this is an area they've got to address. He did not score last night. Only took 3 shots in 21 minutes, had 5 rebounds. Okay, we're back. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Frank Martin coming up here in just a little bit. Let you hear following the Gamecocks' loss last night to Florida. And we'll also hear Brad Brownell from the Tigers' loss at Louisville last night. Gamecocks getting ready to hit the road for Ole Miss this weekend. Tigers getting ready to hit the road again for Pittsburgh this weekend. That'll be a 12 o'clock tip. 800-956-7266, the number, if you'd like to join us on the program. Several pieces of email to get to respond to. Yarkey, our good friend, big Clemson fan. What's the reason Oglesby not coming to Clemson? Can't get a square reason on that. Not academics. He was all set to go there.
That's the reason.
Well, best I can come up with, he did something, not illegal. He wasn't arrested. It's not academically related, but something happened. He did something that cost him a spot at Clemson. I don't know anything more than that, but something happened that led Clemson to pull the scholarship offer from him. This is from Don, who says, I still pay attention to recruiting. I did think it was interesting when I saw the other day the info on the Missouri classes the last 4 years. Off the top of my head, I think the info was that they had actually signed only about 10 4- and 5-star recruits the past 4 years. That would leave about 75, 85 2- and 3-star recruits that make up the rest of those classes. They've been pretty good over the past few years for that type of ratings. Makes you wonder how accurate it can be. Also, I looked back to see the rating on Beasley and saw he was a 3-star recruit when he signed. I'd take all those 3 stars I can get. Back to the USC recruiting class. I know it's a tough decision for a lot of these young men, and they don't really have a favorite. I hope they're getting good advice and go to the school that's best for them. Arden Key, for example, seems like he's struggling with his decision. I'd like to see him sign with USC, but if it's not right for him, then he and the USC program will be better off for him to go where he is a better fit. We'll find out on signing day. That's well written. Well thought out. And yeah, I mean, you got to be comfortable with where you sign. You got to find a place that's going to make you happy. It won't do you any good. It won't do the program any good if you are not happy with where you sign. And again, this thing about the star system, to me, the star system is just a racket. It doesn't mean anything. They've been playing football, been playing all these sports a long, long time, and there have been starters and there have been bench warmers forever without stars attached to their name. You've had Heisman Trophy winners before the days of stars. The stars, this whole concept of a star system was created by the internet recruiting websites as part of their business model, I think for 2 purposes. Number 1, to attract subscribers, and number 2, to really help them get an in with these players. They know the minds of teenagers. Teenagers crave this kind of stuff. When a teenager sees that he's been given a 3rd, 4th, or 5th star, to him, it's big news. And they've turned it into newsy information on the internet for those who crave that kind of stuff. Like one of the websites, one of the networks has had, like today was a day they upgraded some players to 5 stars, those players that they thought worthy of it. And, you know, it's all well and good, but the stars don't make the players. And people get so caught up in that, and it really irritates me. And I don't like it when media people refer – the first thing they refer to with a football prospect is, you know, something star defensive end. I mean, that just drives me up a wall because, you know, you can either play the game at a high level or you can't. And whether you have a 5-star by your name, it doesn't guarantee anything. And if you're a 2-star, it doesn't guarantee that you can't.
Well, it used to be what, a blue chipper? That used to be the term. I mean,
chipper,
rivals put the stars. It used to be this guy's a blue chipper. And, you know, it's just a way. I mean, you do it. I think I'm guilty of it, but I think you let people know that this guy, everybody thinks he's the next big thing. Everybody should know just because people think a guy's going to be the next big thing doesn't mean he's going to be. How many 5-star guys have flamed out? A lot more than have.
See, the networks want to say, but see, look at all the 5-star. Well, I mean,
did you see the thing in the Super Bowl before the Super Bowl last year? They did the Seahawks. They didn't have a lot of 5 stars on that Seahawks team
Right.
that won the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson was not a 5-star player
Right.
coming out of high school.
Right.
You
Well,
just
they will
don't know.
tell
Let's-
you.
let's
They
face
will
it.
tell you their rationale is
Uh-huh.
they're not saying they're not predicting future performance.
Mhm.
What they're saying is that based on our evaluation of these guys in these camps primarily, and maybe
Evaluation.
of their film
Uh-huh.
and watching some of their games, we believe that they can play at this level, and that's
You know,
the
and it's not
5-star
that
level
hard.
or
I
the
mean, how many of these
4-star level.
guys that are doing these rankings are former coaches?
They sure do make it
former
sound easy,
Well,
and,
here-
and
players,
unfortunately,
scouts.
so many
Here's-
people
hold
buy
on,
into
hold-
it.
Well, here's the deal. This is what they're doing.
Mhm.
They have successfully generated revenue by creating another season of competition. When you look at football, you look at preseason, the pre-conference season, the conference season, the conference games, the bowl season, the playoff season, if you get into a playoff, and now it's the recruiting season. Who wins that game? And people eat it up, and I think it's almost a out push from fantasy football, making trades or whatever. Now the recruiting game has become fantasy. We get this guy, we can move up to number 1, we can move to 2, that sort of thing.
Covering recruiting has been around about as long as I've been on the radio.
Mhm. But the star system gives you some.
The star system
the
came
fans.
along when these internet
Mhm.
recruiting websites started popping up with the advent of the internet, obviously, and recruiting moved to the internet for a variety of reasons, and we all know why. And they, I don't know who the first person was to come up with a star rating system for the internet websites, but it's been a tremendous boon to them. And I'm not saying from the standpoint of a business model and what's good for those websites that it's a bad idea. I mean, somebody is a business genius for coming up with that. But what has happened is so many people who are football fans, college football fans, they rely so much on that to determine the quality of a player. And it's very unfair both ways, both for the guys who are given 5 stars and for the guys who are only given 2 stars. My thinking is, if I'm a fan and I read where my team is recruiting a 3-star guy, that's how he's labeled, so-and-so has offered 3-star cornerback. Well, my thought is, why are you offering a guy who's only a 3-star? Why aren't you only recruiting 5 stars? You telling me you're willing to take less than the best?
Yeah, but
because that's what the star system tells you.
There are fans that think that. They're like, and they don't trust their coaches who actually get paid to go and watch these guys. They know a need. There could be a guy that's a 5-star that does not fit a program, and people go, why didn't we recruit this guy? He's a 5-star. These other schools are, maybe he's a better fit there. I mean, everybody knows what their program is, what they want to do, what personalities they want on their team. Let's face it, certain teams recruit certain personalities. Every team has its own unique personality. Clemson recruits a different personality than South Carolina. I don't think either one of them are bad, but they're definitely different, and that's okay. And that's why you trust the coaching staff.
Well, I will continue to fight the system, and I will continue to try to of this program to the better way of looking at recruiting, and that is, if a player has offers from SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12 programs,
no matter what star
you can take it to the bank that the people who make hundreds of thousands of dollars to evaluate believe that player is good enough to play at the highest level. Now, if South Carolina, let's just use them as an example, takes a player whose only other offer was Furman, or had offers of the Southern Conference, Big South variety, but they liked him and they take him, then you have to believe your coaches are taking kind of a risk on a player who wasn't given a high evaluation by the power conferences, but they see something in him and they see a fit for him in the program. To me, that's the best way to determine, as an outsider, the future of a football player in college. All right, the SEC game that is underway is Missouri at home against LSU. What's going on there, Pro?
It is LSU had a 19-8 lead, but since then Missouri went on a 6-0 run, and now it's 19-14. We were talking about it was interesting, Corn, that when Missouri was invited to join and accepted the invitation to join the SEC, all the talk early on was they will immediately enhance the basketball in the SEC, and it has turned out to be just the opposite.
Yeah,
the football team has outperformed their basketball program so far in the SEC.
What about the USC women? You got an update on that game?
Yeah, it is now 8.5 minutes to go before the half. It's South Carolina 23, Alabama 18. So you got to figure that Alabama's slowing down the pace to stay in the basketball.
Well, that's about the only way you can play with the USC women is to kind of slow it down and see if you can keep them from putting together some kind of long run against you and building a big lead. I mean, they've blown out so many teams this year, and they just blew out Auburn. Was it Auburn they just beat on the road? No, who was it they beat on the road the other day?
They beat LSU on the road.
It was LSU they beat on the road. Okay, that was Auburn they beat at home.
At home.
LSU. Now, the USC women, should they win this game, they'll be number one. And you've got Kentucky coming in Sunday at 1 o'clock to the Colonial Life Arena. They had 16,000 last Sunday. They might very well –
Last Friday.
They might very well push 18,000.
Especially
They might tear the roof off and just go to the sky.
Especially as warm.
Pretty soon I came back, your little girls are going to want to go watch the USC women play basketball. You're going to have to take them. You're going to have to dress them up in their little
I would be happy
outfits
to
take them to the CLA and let them
You'd be
cheer on the
surprised.
USC.
I would much rather watch Dawn Staley's Gamecocks play than go to a cheerleading competition. I'm just full disclosure, but I don't get a lot of choice in the matter usually.
When's the next one?
I don't even know anymore. They tell me where we're driving, and I drive.
You drive,
and,
and obviously everybody's hoping that you can, just kind of navigate the landmines, which is SEC women's basketball, until the first week in February, or is the second week in February, when South Carolina must take that trek up to Mecca, and that's called UConn now. So that will be interesting at any rate.
Well, they look, to me, good enough to handle most anything right now. I mean, they're mature. They've got the leadership. They've got, the great guard play, which you have to have, and they have got the height that, few teams can match them in terms of height. And we're talking about girls you're bringing off the bench. I mean, Aja Wilson's not even starting. I mean, she's playing, of course, a great bit, and she's the team's leading scorer, but she's coming off the bench. Elena Coach has been coming off the bench. You're talking 6'5" coming off your bench. Not only tall, but can play. These aren't uncoordinated, stiff players. These are women who can get up and down the court and play basketball.
Is a three-position player. She can play off guard, center, or forward. I mean, because she can handle just like a guard.
Yeah, she is a phenomenal athlete. All right, we'll come back and hear from the coaches, Frank Martin and Brad Brownell, after their defeats last night. Stay tuned. Well, the Gamecocks had hoped to open SEC play last night at home on a positive note against Florida. They'd won 7 in a row, feeling about as good about themselves as they had in a long, long time in men's basketball. And Florida was struggling a good bit with injuries and suspensions and a less than stellar record coming in. It was Florida that took it to the Gamecocks last night and proved that they are, even when shorthanded, a tough out because they do have some outstanding players. Dorian Finney-Smith with 20 points last night and 7 rebounds, for example. And Michael Frazier off the bench with 17 points, including 3 threes. And they hit their free throws 8 in a row to close out the game. That was big because the Gamecocks they hit 25 out of 30.
Something they didn't do against UConn.
Mm-hmm. Meantime, the Gamecocks were pounded on the backboards overall, 37-23. The Gamecocks only had 7 offensive rebounds, and their big guys were practically invisible underneath. Chikavicius only had 1 board. Henry did have 4 rebounds for them. Carrera had 2 in only 5 minutes to play. So they only had the 7 offensive rebounds total to 14 for Florida. So they got hammered on the backboards, especially in the second half. So Frank Martin afterwards obviously disappointed, and he's not one to he spelled it out exactly as he saw things played out last night.
We got what we deserve. That's I said after the Iowa State game, we played hard. We didn't play well. And we came back, and last 2 days in practice, we reverted right back to the stuff that we had going into Charleston. And, we because we were good for 6 weeks or whatever it was, headed into today's game, it allowed it. We had to resolve because we had created good habits to fight and give ourselves a chance today. But our disciplines, our disposition, our minds, were never in a good place the last 2 days. And you line up and you play the team that's won the league 2 years in a row, that's been in 5 Final Fours, it's won 2 national championships and 3 national championship games, 4 consecutive Elite Eights, go on down the line. And they're coming off 2 losses in a row. I told the guys, I said, listen, I don't know if you guys have ever been in a fight, but when you box, when you go in and fight the champ, he going to punch you as hard as he can. And if you don't fight back, he going to pummel you. And we didn't have the habits after the last couple of days to be able to sustain the punch that Florida threw at us today. And we got beat to every loose ball. We got beat on the glass like no team I've ever coached. I've never been around a team that got beat on the glass the way we got beat on the glass today. And that's a credit to Billy and his guys. It's not, we've rebounded all year, but we didn't respond. We got hit and we never responded.
Frank, what happened on some of the help side defense with Frazier? Just seemed like he was getting way too many wide open looks.
Right, the ball screen defense. They put you in a million ball screens. And, Dave, at the end of the day, they shot 5 for 19 from the 3-point line. The 3-point shooting is not what beat us. What beat us was our inability to guard the ball in the ball screen. Our guards were out to lunch in practice. And let me not say that because the guys have been real good, and we had 2 bad days of practice. And I'm not going to sit here and criticize. Our ball screen defense was atrocious today. So what happened is they come at you. And when they come at you, they put you on your heels. So now they constantly put you on rotation because our ball screen defense is not very good. And then when they missed, it's hard to win when you're starting 3, 4, and 5 in 52 and 18. I used to teach math. You think I should be able to add in 70 minutes of play, grab 4 rebounds. It's hard to win.
Going back to your fighting analogy, Hoiberg used the same analogy, taking their best punch the last game. How do you get that back in practice? How do you get back to being able to take a punch and go forward?
They're not going to like me a whole lot if they don't respond better the next couple of days. And You know, we've all been in a pretty good mood lately, and I've been very positive. Here's the deal, okay? Here at the end of the day, okay, in life, what's the one disease that we can't overcome? Cancer. How do you treat cancer? Radiation. That means you burn it. You don't take pills and I've got a dear friend of mine right now that's back in the hospital fighting cancer, and I don't know if he's making it this time around. And you got to burn the cancer. Well, selfishness is the cancer of a team. You can't be selfish. And we were selfish the last 2 days. So, you know, I'm chemo. If they bring in that in the locker room, then they're not gonna enjoy being around me. It's just simple as that. And you know, it's today's a hard day for me. We were so bad in practice, and I got word of that. Rex Morgan. I don't know if any of you remember Rex Morgan, great player, coaching high school basketball in Jacksonville for the last 25 years. He's one of my closest friends, and he just spent 6 hours in chemotherapy today. 6. And it's his third go around with throat cancer. And you know, I you know, knowing what he's going through, and for us to have guys that don't want to practice and not in the mood to get coached makes it frustrating. But they were good for 6 weeks, so I'm going to expect them to be good tomorrow.
Frank, with what appears to be a lot of depth in the league this year, how critical is it to serve at home in conference games? And
you can't lose at home, period. Point blank, end of story. It's you ever want to be any good, you better hold serve at home. If you start losing home games, then you're not going to be very good.
Frank Martin from last night's press conference at South Carolina after the loss to Florida, not biting his tongue about his team. Little surprised, though, Pro, that the team coming off of Iowa State, and this is not a young team. I mean, you've got a couple of juniors that have been through it for 3 years. You got 3 juniors been through it for 3 years with them. You got sophomores. It's not a team that is just getting here and figuring it all out. These are guys that have been through the wars 2 or 1 with Frank Martin, this being year number 3. Little surprised that they didn't practice better. They didn't have a better approach, apparently, in the days leading up to last night's game.
You would think that, but I think like anybody else, we get into the malaise right after the holiday season of, oh, here comes the grind again. But I want to give credit to Florida. I thought when Billy Donovan over the weekend said he questioned the toughness of the team, I say, that means that South Carolina is going to get Florida's best shot. What do good coaches like Billy Donovan do? They examine who's your best player. It's been Dwayne Notice. Let's make life uncomfortable for him. And that's what they did. They took him out of the game from the get-go. And then they said, let's see if they adjust with that. Frank Martin, now the ball is in your court. Now you know what the conference is going to do with you because Florida is giving them the blueprint, make him uncomfortable.
Everybody's got film on you now.
Yeah, now you got to watch and see who's going to be the guy that can help you out. Now,
Marcus Stroman did come in and he played 29 minutes and he played extremely well. Gave him 7 points and 3 assists. Did turn it over 4 times.
He's fearless. He's going to make some mistakes, but he's fearless out there.
But see, that's one of the keys. I think sometimes you got to go small, and in this case, you may have to have 2 point guards on the floor at one time. And what I mean by that is maybe you've got Sindarius actually playing the power forward position, you wouldn't call it that, and then have Stroman in there with Johnson. Well, to deal with some of that pressure defense you have to play against.
Was the performance of Johnson came back. He had 20 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal.
Yeah, he played very well. He needed some other guys to step up. Thornwell was in foul trouble most of the game. That hurt him. He was on the bench half the first half and fouled out in the last minute.
Only played 18 minutes.
Yeah, it was a tough night for him.
Made 1 shot. Notice made 1 shot.
And that hurts him on the defensive end.
Yeah.
I mean, Thornwell doesn't have to score, but when he's not playing defense, that hurts him.
Well, we'll be back with more in a moment.
Coach, pretty good effort tonight. You out-rebound Louisville by 3 on their home floor. You hold them to 32% shooting. Just a couple more shots would have made the difference, it seems like.
Yeah, obviously the second half start was really bad. They, they turned it up a little bit, and
the 32% shooting.
Yeah, obviously the second half start was really bad. They, obviously the second half start was.
All right, Clemson continues its very tough stretch to open ACC play last night at number 5 Louisville in the KFC Yum Center. Tigers lose at 58-52, had a 4-point halftime lead and could not hold off Louisville in the second half. Here is Coach Brad Brownell talking to the voice of Clemson basketball, Tony Castricone, and analyst and basketball, not basketball SID, but football SID, Tim Beret, who does color on the basketball broadcast. Anyway, from Learfield Sports, here is Brownell talking about not being able to hang on in the second half.
Yeah, obviously the second half start was really bad. They, they turned it up a little bit, and we struggled. We were a little tight when the heat was coming, and lost a little bit of our momentum. Certainly, they're unbelievably fast, and their pressure is outstanding. It's really hard to deal with, and we just had too many turnovers in a game like that. You got to cut 3 or 4 of those out, and then you got to make 2 or 3 more shots, and you can win the game. I thought we had great shots in the first half. I thought our offense was outstanding. I thought we had a good plan in our motion stuff against the zone, and really, we really needed to be up by more than 4. I thought we outplayed them by a lot, and then in the second half, and certainly that helped with Harrell and foul trouble. In the second half, they bounced back and did what top 5 teams do. They came after us, and it's a little harder. The bench is away from the zone offense, and they ran through a couple. They got a couple tip balls, and we just got to be a little bit stronger and a little bit tougher to win a game like that.
In outside of that 17-0 run at the start of the second half, it seemed like you guys not only broke the press, but once you got up in the half court, didn't let their pressure bother you, and generally stayed pretty patient and worked good offense and got good looks.
Yeah, I'm really anxious to watch the film at the beginning of the second half and to see what caused us so much more problems. Once we made a basket, we finally took a deep breath, and our offense the last whatever part of the game, 12 minutes, wasn't terrible. We had some good shots, and really could have made another run if we make 1 or 2 more threes. We had a couple of good looks and didn't get those to go in. Obviously, it hurts. We didn't have any inside scoring at all, and so you're constantly playing from the perimeter with jump shots and pull-ups and runners and floaters and stuff, and not getting just an offensive put back or an easy basket. It's some of that's their shot blocking and strength. They're big and strong inside and athletic, and that's part of what's hard about playing against Louisville. But we've got to find a way to get a few more easy baskets in games against really good teams.
Probably the most you've used a zone since you've been at Clemson, and I thought it was very effective for you.
Well, we've practiced our zone a lot this year and used it sparingly, but this was a team for a variety of reasons. We thought it would, first thing, I knew that they would be patient and they would probe and take time and move the ball. And so I knew that would work in our favor in this game. And then secondly, I thought we kind of knew some things that they were going to do, and I thought that really helped us. And, it was effective. I'm sure we'll use it again some in other games. And, as long as you rebound out of it, you have a chance. They made a couple threes, but I thought by and large it was certainly a big factor in us hanging in the game.
I thought another big factor was, especially early in the contest, Sidi Jate just played with a lot of effort, tapped out a lot of offensive rebounds, and gave you guys second chances that proved to be big in keeping you ahead.
No, they did. He got some good tip outs that led to a couple buckets. And, in a low-scoring game, a basket in today's game felt like 4 points instead of 2 for both teams. I mean, the first half was hard going. We didn't really get stops early. They kept getting offensive rebounds. Then we finally got that rectified a little bit. And we got a few of our own. And those baskets off of those rebounds were critical. And, again, I thought he did well. We need to get him to where he can score a bucket or 2 around the rim, behind the basket, do some things to help our offense.
You actually won second chance points, 16-15.
Well, it helped with Montrezl Harrell only playing, 25 minutes instead of 38 in the first half. But I thought our guys competed hard and we took better shots, and we played fairly well today.
All right, Brad Brownell, you heard him say they played fairly well today, and he didn't have that kind of opinion of his team after the North Carolina loss. So it looks like, at least in his mind, they made a little bit of progress from the loss to North Carolina to the loss to Louisville last night. Now, guys, they get to go to Pittsburgh and play the Panthers. Remember, they had that real heartbreaking loss to Pittsburgh last year at Littlejohn. Was that the game where they hit the shot at the buzzer that replay showed was after the buzzer?
Mm-hmm.
The real and it really hurt Clemson's NCAA chances, that loss to Pittsburgh right at the end of the ballgame.
Yeah, I think they had a lead, and it kind of got away from there, and Pittsburgh rallied. Yeah, I think that was the game.
Now, Tim Ray thought he saw physicality in the Louisville game. Wait till you get a gander at Pittsburgh, because Jamie Dixon's teams love to bang. That's that Big East influence.
Yeah, and that home court at Pittsburgh is real tough. They support that team strongly and loudly. More sports talk coming up in a moment. And with their loss last night, the Tigers fall to 0-2 in the ACC. 6 ACC teams have yet to win a league game. Of course, Miami's only played 1. There's a bunch that have lost 2. Wake Forest is already 0-3 in league play. Pittsburgh beating Boston College by a point the other night is 11-4, 1-1 going into Saturday's game against Clemson. Notre Dame already 3-0 in the ACC. Duke is 2-0. Virginia, Louisville, and Syracuse. Syracuse with a pair of very close wins to get off to a 2-0 start, including a win last night at Georgia Tech. So what do we have tonight, Pro, as far as Big South, SoCon, and that SEC game and the USC women?
Well, in the SoCon, all the South Carolina entries in the conference are at home tonight. At halftime, the Citadel 38, Samford 34. Just starting the second, Furman, it's UNC Greensboro leading Furman by 9, 34-25. Halftime in Spartanburg, Wofford 41, VMI 37. That's kind of a high score for a Wofford basketball game, but they're leading by 4 at the half. As far as the Lady G's are concerned, halftime in Alabama, they went on a run at the end of the first half. South Carolina leading that ball game 48-30.
Yeah.
At the half.
I can give you some
Alabama.
quick notes on that game. USC is shooting 68%. 19 of 28, 4 of 9 from 3, 6 of 7 from the line. They've got 10 assists on their 19 baskets, 6 steals, 3 blocks. They have forced 10 turnovers, committed 4. And leading the way for the USC women at this point is Asia Dozier with 13 points. Elena Coates has 10. Alicia Welch. Alicia Welch, 6. Tiffany Mitchell with 5. Wilson with 4. So they are having a hot shooting night in Alabama.
In the Big South, in the men at halftime, High Point 40, Charleston Southern 32. Coastal Carolina, I guess a late start for them. It's early in the first half, 10-4 over Longwood. And Winthrop in the first half, it's 16-13 over Presbyterian, that game in Clinton.
How about that SEC game?
The SEC game, I have not been paying attention.
It's in a commercial, but I think LSU's
by 4.
Somewhat.
LSU is up by 4 at the half.
Okay.
30-27, I think, at 3 at the half.
Okay, very good. Anything else that you want to share, K-Mac?
I think we covered it all there, didn't we? All the scores.
30-27, by the way, LSU over Missouri.
Just
all right.
There's echo in here.
Oh, did you say the score?
Yeah,
you said
did.
just up by 3.
Yeah, I did. And then I said the score.
All right,
You're losing your mind.
You know, with that, I'm going to take tomorrow off.
Good. You need it.
I've got a golf round in my future. I
You
don't
gonna play
care
with
how hard
snowballs?
the
Course and the people behind you.
I will play no matter what the temperature is. It does not matter. Neither heat nor cold shall scare me away. Let me just leave you with this. Go Packers. Beat the dirt-eating Cowboys. The guys will be here tomorrow night.